is a fresh Sunday morning, and we are here with a fresh, energetic speaker today, Shabia Raviwalia, a dear friend of mine, my mentor as well. So let me introduce Shabia in few words. Basically, profile तो बहुत बड़ा है उनका, बहुत सारे काम करते हैं, and she's a chatterbox और वो chatting करते करते हमें सिखाती है. So that is the best part about her personality. So well, Shabia Raviwalia, who is the founder and owner of Wild Earth. This is basically a wonderful range of beauty products which are paraben free, sulfate free, animal cruelty free, and the name itself suggests wild earth. It comes from Mother Nature, it comes from Mother Earth. So, fantastic range of beauty products which is founded by Shabia. She has been a media professional for the past 24 years. So you can imagine कि creativity कितनी कूट कूट के भरी पड़ी है शाबिया में, और ये आपको अगले 1 घंटे में देखने को मिलने वाला है. She has been a teacher in early years of her life, and she continues her love for teaching by educating entrepreneurs like us through her new venture, which is Idea to Income Tribe. And I am one of the proud members of Idea to Income Tribe on her Facebook group. She's the author of best-selling book called Mama Mania. She's also the founder of Wild Earth, as I already told you, a natural skincare line, which she started just 3 years back, and it is booming like anything. She also runs the Bluebells community, which is dedicated to helping and serving the underprivileged. So that is her social vertical. She is winner of several prestigious awards, and Shabia is also a motivational speaker and speaks at many prestigious events. So everybody put your hands together as I welcome on board Shabia Walia. Over to you.
I'm clapping for all the others. Thank you so much for having me, all of you. I mean, coming on a Sunday morning to listen to someone is really, really, I think, very courageous. So, because the lockdown has thrown off all our sleeping schedules haywire, and so it's really nice to see all of you. And today I'm going to speak about a book which I have read very recently, actually. And that's when Rishilpa asked me, what do you want to speak about? And I said, I want to speak about this particular book, which I have read. And I think, it has changed a lot of things for me. And unknowingly, I have followed many things out of it through my life. But it's just that once you get that there was a science behind all of that, there is a button which goes on it, because right now, because when you listen to The Secret or you listen to something philosophical, you always think, acha, this is some person's creativity जिसने किताब बेचने के लिए उसको लिखकर बेच दिया. But you followed them and you have figured that it works. But someone, when he gives you a scientific perspective to that, you say, that's why it works. It becomes more tangible when there is a science backing to it. And I think this book did that for me. Okay. And I would like to share, of course, doing this in a, like whatever, 1 hour or less than that is totally, I think, not justice to the book, because it is such a brilliant book that I suggest that after my talk on today, on Sunday, if you can, order the book, because I feel it will completely change the way you look at yourself, and you will realize why I'm saying yourself rather than looking at the world or looking at, and I think the moment you look at yourself in a different way, everything around you will start changing. So get your hands on this book. I mean, I heard an audio copy of it, and it was more than 5.5 hours, and it took me several days to actually finish it. But if you're more of a reader, then you can order the book and read it, and you have to experience the book to really see the kind of changes it can bring to your life. Okay. And I'll be sharing my screen, because I've done a very basic PPT. So do let me know if you can see the screen once I share it. Just one second. So,
Shavya, I have given you the permissions, so now you can share it.
oh, okay, great. I'm so used to being the host all the time that this doesn't even occur to me that somebody has to give me permission. Yeah, okay, great. Yeah. So can you see the screen, everyone? Yeah? Okay. So I'm going to just maximize the screen. Cool. Okay, let me go back to the first one. Okay, so Psycho-Cybernetics is a book by Maxwell Maltz, who himself was a cosmetic surgeon, and it's very funny. So initially, when I thought he was a cosmetic surgeon, and why is he writing a book, or how come he delved into psychology all of a sudden? And as I progressed with the book, I realized that there was a lot between cosmetology and psychology which comes together. And so what really is cybernetics? Cybernetics is in the Greek language means a helmsman, or a person who basically steers the ship to the port, who basically gives the direction to the ship so that it reaches the port. And why psycho-cybernetics? It's very simple. Basically, it's steering your mind towards a definite, productive, and useful goal, so that it reaches the ship that you are, or the mind, or your mind. It reaches the greatest port in the world, and that is nothing else but peace of mind, right? I mean, at the end of the day, what are we really aspiring to be as entrepreneurs, as mothers, as teachers, or as any other professional or human being on this earth? I think we may call it happiness, we may call it security, we may call it anything else, but what we really want to achieve is peace of mind. So whether I get that peace of mind by having lakhs of rupees in my bank, or whether having a deep contentment that I am doing my duty towards society, or that my business is a huge success, or my startup has gained its round of funding, at the end of the day, when you lie in your bed, what you really want to sleep with is peace of mind. And psycho-cybernetics is nothing else but steering your mind towards a particular goal so that it reaches the greatest peace of mind your mind can ever reach. And that's all that there is to the book. So how did Dr. Maxwell actually, from being a cosmetic surgeon, get into psychology? And you know, guys, this is one of the most sold self-help books. And when it comes to self-help books, I know there is a certain kind of cynicism attached to it, and many people say it's not for me, oh, I'm not into self-help, I don't need how-to books. And I agree with that to an extent. Even I am a little bit cynical about, oh, do I really need this? But I would say this is one of the most practical self-help books I have read, and because there is a science attached to it, it makes it very tangible and believable, and you can see the outcome as soon as you start reading it. Also, it's not really that if you finish the book and then apply the theory to your life, you will start seeing it on day one. So why did he feel the need to get into psychology? So what he realized was that there were two kinds of patients. The one kind of patients who came to him were very happy once the cosmetic surgery was done, once they got a new face. While there were some of them who, even if he gave them a new face, were very dissatisfied and discontented. And that was not because his surgery went wrong or he did not change the shape of the nose that they wanted to. It was just that despite having a more beautiful, more nicer, more pleasant face, they were still unhappy. And there's a saying that Jesus Christ said, and it's mentioned in the book too, that don't put a new patch of cloth on an old garment. Don't put a new patch of cloth on an old garment. And as he started, analyzing his cases and realizing that why do some people feel happy and why some don't after they've got a completely new face or a more beautiful face, is that you can never be happy with something external until you are comfortable with the image you have of yourself inside. How many of you all agree? I mean, how many of you all think this sentence makes sense? Do write in the chat box. That I can never be happy with my external self if I am not happy with the image I have of myself, which is inside. Right? So however much, if there's an old dress I'm wearing and I keep putting new patches of cloth on it, it will still look like an old garment with some patches on it. It will not become a new garment. And that is exactly what led him to, get into this deeper and deeper, So people who have scars, okay, now this is a very practical example I'm telling you. If that scar has come out of pride, okay, like if it's an army general who got a bullet wound on his neck, he will almost always show you, see this scar? got it in the Battle of Kargil. This one shot me and I came out of it alive, because it's connected to pride. So he does not see it as a scar. He sees it as a medal. But if you've got it when your teacher hit you in class because you failed a particular subject, or because you carry a bad memory with it becomes the medal of shame. Now you see this as a very, very ugly scar. Make sense? Same scar, two different reactions, right? So what Maxwell eventually came up with was that every person has a mental blueprint or an image of themselves, of the person they think they are. We all have a mental blueprint of ourselves. It's almost like seeing ourselves as a third person or outside of our body. And we have a fixed image of that person in our heads, right? And think about it, and maybe you can write in the chat box how you see yourself, okay? And this mental blueprint or the image is nothing else but something which has come out of our past successes, our past failures, our past beliefs, our behavior, and feelings. So when I wrote humiliation, I meant feelings of humiliation, shame, pride, envy, jealousy, whatever it is. And now if you go back to your childhood and you realize, and you start putting that into context of your own life, you will realize how true and how valuable this statement is. For example, so when I was 9 years old, I was a child, and my father walked out on us, okay? He went and married and created another family. And I remember that as a child, I had this feeling of abandonment, that every relationship I got into or every friendship I got into, I kept feeling that that person will leave me. I kept feeling that that person will leave me. And for years together, I did not understand why I was thinking so. And you know what? Once your mind starts thinking about it, it also wants to give it proof then. So every time somebody went away, I felt, देखा, मैंने तो बोला था कि ये मुझे छोड़कर जाएगा, ये मुझे छोड़कर जाएगी. So when I got more proof, I got more validation, I felt very proud of myself, that I know myself so well, right? So if it is a negative thought or a positive thought, your brain does not distinguish between that. The more you think about that feeling, the more you think about yourself in that light, the more your brain works to make it a reality and give you validation and proof that yes, this is right. How many agree with what I am saying? What do you feel? Am I making sense? Yeah? I'm going to read some of the chat. Yes. Yes, absolutely. I see myself who achieved little bit more than some, but I am not at my best. Yes, agreed totally. Yes, distortion. True. So I agree. So this was the image I carried as a child in my head for a very, very long time. My husband, who was an introvert, who he could not speak in class, so he was very often, subjected to shameful feelings from the teacher, who used to send him out of the class and all. And for him, Ali, can you just shut the chat box? I'm not able to do it from here. Kapil or Ali, whoever. And so his memory of school is very, very sad. He almost remembers school as an institution which did not give him much happiness. Whereas someone like me, who always won all the elocution competitions, stood first in class, was always getting popularity there, school is the best time in my life. I feel it was really, really good. Now I'll tell you one more thing. When I was in junior KG, my teacher wrote on my report card that Shabia should learn to talk. She should learn to mingle with people. She does not know how to talk. She is extremely shy and an introvert. And look at me here. I mean, almost every other day, I am talking to people. I am talking to laptops. I am talking to practically anyone. And Shilpa today introduced me as a chatterbox. How far I have come from that, that report which my teacher gave. Now, if I were to take that, and the good thing was, my mother never told me that this was written about you in your report card. She just let me bloom. She just let me take my natural personality. Now imagine if she would have told me in junior KG when I was just about 3 or 4 years old that, you know what, you are an introvert and teacher says you're shy and teacher says you can't speak to people. I would have become that person. I would have become that person. That ignorance that this was written about me and I didn't know about it led me to my natural self. And I love people and I love talking and I love, speaking all the time. And we do this every day to our children, right? Don't do this, you will fall down. Don't touch that, you will get hurt. Don't say this, they will think you are arrogant. Don't boast about your success, they will think you are very, proud. So many don'ts, so many. And what is the child hearing? You will get hurt, you will fall down, you're a negative person, they'll think you're selfish. Share, otherwise you will be selfish. Don't speak out in class, otherwise teacher will punish you. All the negative words every day in and out. And all of us keep doing that to our siblings or to our employees or to our children or to ourselves. To ourselves. How many of us really speak about our successes without feeling any guilt and shame? Even now when Shilpa was talking about me, despite reading the book and knowing so many things, I'm looking down. I am not looking at the screen. I am looking down because somewhere you feel, and especially with the middle class mentality and the Indian mentality, we are taught not to boast about our successes. And yet, you cannot deny me the success I have done in my life despite being a fatherless kid. You cannot take that away from my life. But I am told not to flaunt it. I am told not to talk about it. I am told to be humble about it. And with humility, I attach this feeling of guilt and shame that, oh, I shouldn't be praised so much. Oh, why is she reading such a big profile of me? Oh, why is she saying all this about me? Right? We don't take compliments gracefully. Very few people in this world really take compliments very gracefully and with ease. With ease. I'm not saying I have mastered the art either. I still tend to look down or look somewhere else when things are being said about me. But I'm learning. I'm learning how to go with it. Right? So this is what he said, that we are nothing else but a blueprint of who we think we are. And it's such a false blueprint because it is been made from the successes, failures, beliefs, behavior, humiliation, shame, which I have faced as a child or I have faced in my past life. I have a friend, okay, and I always give this example. She is extremely, extremely beautiful, okay. She's an actress. She, if you see her, you would say if there was a fairy in reality, she would look like this. If there was a fairy who comes in front of you, she would look like this. And yet, she believes she is the most ugliest person on this earth because her husband tells her that every day. Her husband tells her that every day. And she has started believing that. And she no more looks at herself in the mirror as a beautiful woman. I always tell her that if I was a man, I would fall in love with you and get married to you. She's that beautiful, okay? But because she's been hearing these words every day, she has started believing that she is ugly. And she gets paid a bomb to act in shows and things like that. But so you know what beliefs and what other people's perception and what our own perception. If I start telling you today that your nose is crooked, even if it is not, for 4 days, if I tell you, the 5th day, when you look in the mirror, you will find a crooked nose. And that's nothing else but basically your subconscious mind working on that, because you have given a goal. I have told you, you have a crooked nose. Now your subconscious mind has started working on it. Yes, crooked nose, crooked nose, crooked nose. It doesn't know that crooked nose is good or bad. The best part of our subconscious mind is it's like an operator, a desktop operator. If the boss tells him to do it, he will do it. He will not think it's right, wrong, imagination, reality, present, future, good, bad. It just starts working on it. So the moment I start hearing a word, my subconscious mind starts working on it. It starts working on making me feel that my nose is crooked. And ultimately on the 5th day, I start seeing that nose is crooked. Now think about it. The human mind thinks about negative things so easily. But think about it. You can also think of positive things so easily, correct? If you can think of negative things, the same mind can also think of positive things so easily. So if I were to say success, 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 and I am successful and I am beautiful and I am confident and I am sexy and I'm happening, and my subconscious mind is going to take those words and start working on that, because now you are giving it positive goals instead of negative goals. And the moment I set those outcomes and I set those goals for them, for the subconscious mind, it starts taking those orders from me and it starts working on it. Because again, it does not know whether it's right or wrong. It does not know good or bad, present, past, future, nothing. It just knows this is what is the information fed to me and I have to convert it into reality. So when Maxwell discovered that there is a great connection between psychology and cosmetology and why patients were not feeling happy, even before he went for the surgery, he started teaching them to set outcomes, to set goals for themselves. He started asking them, what do you want to see when you come out of the surgery? How do you want to feel when you want to come out of the surgery? And when people started writing them down and started vocalizing it, that I want to feel happy, I want to feel beautiful, I want to feel, contented, I want to feel satisfied. He started making them work on it much before the surgery happened. And when the surgery happened, by the 21st or the 22nd day, they were happier people because they had set those outcomes and the subconscious mind had already started working on that outcome. So when they finally saw that new face, they were happy because the image inside had been corrected. So the image outside was now in sync with the image inside. If you have a fridge at home and it isn't working, okay, how much ever you paint it from outside, put a new handle, put a nice cloth over it, put some stickers, put fridge magnets, it will not work because the motor inside is damaged. And that's exactly what I meant, that don't put a new patch on an old garment. You cannot get your refrigerator to work by painting the door red. You have to get the motor replaced or repaired, and then only will it work. Agreed? How many of y'all are with me? What I'm saying makes sense? Yeah? Thank you. Somebody says 100000. Okay. I am just going to put the chat off. I don't know why I can't put the chat off. Okay. So what Maxwell ultimately said is that everything starts with self-image and imagination. Okay. And imagination is nothing else but tuning into the theater of your mind. So you will see that some people say that, she's very creative, she can visualize. And some people say, I am not creative, I cannot visualize. Okay. But honestly, there is something called the theater of the mind where you can see every movie inside your head without a ticket and without going to a theater. Okay. And if you realize, imagination again cannot separate reality from a myth or reality. It cannot categorize saying this is reality and this is imagination, or it cannot say this is past and this is future. Now I'll tell you how this works. Okay. If I am filling in a form for an award, okay, so somebody sent me that, ma'am, you have been shortlisted for this award, please fill the form. Now, if I am filling that form and this niggling voice inside my head says, oh, why are you filling it? You're anyways not going to win it. Yeah. Matlab, what a waste of time. I'm not going to sit and put this because I've never won an award. Now, you have set the goal for your subconscious that I am not going to win this award. Now, it will do everything in its power to make sure that this goal comes true. Okay. So while I'm setting these things, while I'm saying these things, this voice, while it is saying this to me, I'm also thinking, yes, they will write a mail to me saying you have not won the award, or we did not find you capable enough, or whatever. Now your subconscious mind is working on this. But imagine if I were to work while filling the form, which is exactly what I do most of the times when I get shortlisted for something. I start imagining the outcome. I don't even get into what I'm going to fill in the form. I start thinking about the outcome. I take myself to that day when I am winning that award. I see myself, what am I wearing? Who are the people in the audience who are going to clap for me? What does the award look like? What are the flowers which are placed around in the room? What is the kind of music that's playing? Is it rock? Is it jazz? What is the music? Okay. Who are the people who have accompanied me? Is it my husband? Is it my friends? You know, is there a newspaper article the next day about me winning that award? Now, when I start creating this movie in my head, okay, and because I like this movie so much, and now I can smell those flowers, I can hear that music, I can see myself receiving the award, my vibration has increased. I am feeling so good about myself. I have not won the award. I am feeling so good about myself now. I'm in a positive state of mind, and I'm telling my subconscious, this is how I want to feel. This is good. This movie is good. And because I like the movie, I play it again in my head while sleeping, while getting up, while walking, while talking, on the phone. Whenever I can, I get the time. I'm thinking about this, me receiving the award and people clapping for me, me receiving the award and people clapping for me. And my vibration is going up. I'm feeling happier, more positive. I'm feeling successful. What am I doing? I am setting the goal and the outcome for my subconscious mind. And the moment I do that, the subconscious mind starts work to take that image now to fruition, to make that image into a reality, to make me win that award. And I'm telling you guys, 97% of the times this has happened with me personally, that I have said, I have visualized, and it's happened. When you visualize the outcome, you start feeling how will you feel when you get that outcome. You have automatically instructed your operator, the subconscious mind. I call them the operator because he is at your beck and call, he or she. It is at your beck and call. All you need to do is order. And the order, if you're giving that order, then you give the right order. Give the best order. Don't give it a negative order. I mean, imagine how many of us narrate our struggle stories. We keep on narrating our struggle stories, right? We keep on talking about, I was there, I come from very humble beginnings and I did this, we didn't have food to eat. How much pride we narrate our struggle stories, but we do not narrate our success stories that proudly. We do not narrate our happier times so successfully. We do not narrate our happier moments. We do not remember our happier moments. Every time we have a small failure, we go back to all the past failures in our life and make ourselves feel shitty and incapable and inferior. And the more you keep thinking about your past failures and relive it, your vibration starts going down, down, down. And what have you done? You have told your subconscious mind, I want to repeat this again in my life. So now the operator gets into work again and brings you more failures, more failures, more failures. Because you are telling him to do that. You are telling him to do that. Correct? Powerful? So, but the best part is that this self-image, this poor self-image we have inside can be corrected. Okay, there are ways to correct this. Okay, and one of them, the most powerful tool, which I just told you, is imagination. Is actually visualizing yourself as the person you want to be. Now think about it. If I say I want to be a billionaire, I want to be a billionaire. But if my inner self does not see me as a billionaire, or I don't have an image of me as a billionaire, there is no sync between the two, between my external image of who I want to be and my internal image of who I want to be. The moment I say I want to be a billionaire to someone, inside there is this thing of, oh, no, you can't be a billionaire. How would you look in a, maybe a Gucci dress or carrying a Prada handbag? It doesn't go with your image. Automatically my subconscious has taken that and said, okay, she can't be a billionaire, she can't be a billionaire. But this comes with practice. Now, instead of thinking every day that why I can't look like a billionaire or why I can't fit into the image of a billionaire, what if I start working on myself? What if I look at role models who are billionaires and start visualizing myself carrying that Prada bag, and going into a conference room where 10 CEOs of 10 companies stand up, and how am I going to feel? I'm going to feel powerful. I'm going to feel, in control. I'm going to give the best speech of my life, and they're going to buy into my company. And once I start doing that, I start feeling that vibration. I start feeling that success. When I start feeling that success, and I do it as a habit every day, I play this mental movie in my head at least 10 times in a day. My subconscious starts believing that this is my reality, and now it starts work on it. And the moment it starts work on it, believe me guys, everything else now what you need to make this happen will come to you. Because now you are attracting those things of making you a billionaire. You're not attracting poverty towards yourself. You're not attracting failure towards yourself. So very interesting example. Somebody just wrote, right, that I do a lot of things and I achieve a lot of things, but I still feel I'm not completely there. So there's this example in the book too, that there's an athlete who's won several races, and he's come second in many races, and he also became the national champion once. But he always saw himself as a failure. He always kept thinking that no, I am a failure. I've only come second everywhere. I've only become national champion once. Others have become 10 times. But tell me, how many athletes really become national champions? So in that sense, he was way ahead of the others, but he could not see that. He constantly always used to tell himself, I always come second, I am not successful, I only become national champion once. Instead of saying, I became the national champion once, he used to say, I only became national champion once. And then one of his students guided him to this book and said, read this book. I think you should read it. And when he read it, he realized that he was concentrating on his failures so much that he was not getting success, the success he wanted. And when he read his book, he started, this 21-day practice of visualizing himself as a successful person. He started repeating in his head the movies when he had won medals, when he had become the national champion, when he won races, when he came second, when he was standing on the podium receiving the trophy. And the moment he started repeating his success movies in his head, he became such a successful coach. He became a very successful person. He achieved 2-3 companies. He bought them out. He started a sports, coaching center, and he's become the most successful person of his own version. And he realized that only his limiting beliefs that he was not good enough had stopped him all the way. And everything he needed after that just came into his life. Shah Rukh Khan always says, I'm the best. And initially people in the world, people in Bollywood used to say that he's very arrogant, and who says like this, ki main bahut successful hu, main Badshah hu. And he is the Badshah. He became that Badshah. Who was he? He was an outsider. But from day one, he never doubted himself that he will make it. Think about it. Average looking guy, no great acting skills, okay? Thrown out of Jamia, thrown out of the acting institute he used to study in, but becomes the Badshah of Bollywood only because he thought that I am the Badshah of Bollywood. And he must have played it out in his head 100 times every day, that what it would look like to be the #1 in Bollywood. People who climb mountains without a leg, they end up climbing mountains, the highest peak in the world. How do they do that? It's the power of the mind, not the leg. Because they think they can do it, and they do it. So there is scientific data to say that people have been able to achieve way beyond what they were made of. We have both our legs intact. And yet we cripple ourselves with these thoughts and words in our head. So the first method to do this was imagination, that is theater of the mind. The second is relaxation. Now you would say, okay, if I am under so much debt and I have so much work and I have so much pressure, how do I relax? But guys, really, there are benefits to relaxation, to taking that. And in the book, he says that take 30 minutes out every day, only 30 minutes, okay? And I'm sure you don't work 24 hours of the day. But if you take 30 minutes out of your day and calm yourself down, when you're relaxed, think about it. When you're relaxed, you feel less anxious. When you feel less anxious, good thoughts come into your mind. Think about the moments when you're with your family without a care in the world. Like for me, Friday evenings are those moments, okay? I'm very relaxed because probably I know that Saturday, Sunday is mine. I don't have to rush to work. The moment I get into that state, I start feeling happy about my family. I feel loved. When I see my family, I start thinking positive images of the things I want to do for them, of the things which await me next week, the success which awaits me. okay, the money which is going to come into my account. Once I start visualizing that, my positive imagination comes into play. The moment positive imagination comes into play, all my negative complexes go back. The moment positive imagination comes into play, the operator, my subconscious mind, starts working on those positive goals for the next week. That's why setting goals, that's why if you have attended any business class, in fact my idea to income course also has an entire chapter on how to set goals. And goals are nothing but the outcomes or the results you or the targets you give yourself, and not really yourself, that operator sitting in your brain, that self-conscious mind. So while the conscious mind does a lot of damage to you by telling you, oh, you can't achieve this, the conscious mind will always point your negative beliefs. It will always point to what you don't have. But the subconscious mind, because it is blind to everything else, it just focuses on what it has to achieve. It does not know anything else. That's why when you even play out your past successes in your head, your conscious mind thinks it's happening now, and it sets about repeating it. It does not know it happened 10 years ago. It has no context of that. That's why when you are relaxed, your mind is more tuned to think about positive movies. So that is why it is so important to get into that relaxation mode for at least 30 minutes every day. People who get into that 30 minutes and see results, then make it 3 to 4 hours, and they call it meditation. Okay, so that's the beauty of it. Then they get addicted to it because they realize कि और कुछ करना नहीं है, बैठकर पिक्चर देखनी है. How cool is that? How cool is that to just see a movie in your head and have the faith that it will all work out? Isn't it cool, rather than slogging 30 hours in a day, to watch a positive movie in your head? Is it cool, guys? What do you think? Is it easy? Is it doable? Yes, it is doable. So we come to the next slide, which says we should all root for failure amnesia. Okay, the biggest handicap we as human beings have is the power to remember everything. The power to remember everything. And you know what? We may think that it is a powerful tool we have, but I feel it's a handicap, because being human beings, we constantly keep remembering about our failures. We never remember our good moments. So forget failures, forget mistakes. You've learned the lesson you had to. You had to go through that journey. Nobody can deny that. If your first girlfriend hadn't dumped you, you wouldn't have become the good husband you are today, right? If I hadn't failed in something, I wouldn't have rooted for success. I wouldn't have learned, and So, but after that, after taking that lesson, stop replaying and reveling in that failure and mistake and struggle. Okay, निकाल दो दिमाग से. You remember your good moments and your successes. Forget your failures. Remember your successes. Remember the moments of happiness. Don't constantly keep playing out your feelings of sorrow. If you remember the movie Devdas, okay, constantly one person who used to always be in that state of doom and gloom, and that's what all his life became, right? If one person dumps you, doesn't mean everyone's going to dump you. But if you constantly keep telling yourself that, and then later in life I realized that coming and going is a part of how we've built. This is a play. There will be some people who will make their entry, do their act, and exit. It's a play, and you cannot say, "Arey, why are you exiting? Uska role khatam ho gaya." In your life, uska role khatam ho gaya. That's why he exited. Now he's making place for new people to come. And that came only after I realized that my father leaving me had nothing to do with me, and it need not be repeated, and it's not going to happen. And I found the most wonderful guy, and I got married, and he was the most wonderful husband, and he's not leaving me. My daughter is not leaving me. My friends haven't left me in the past 20 years. In fact, I make friends every day. All of you are going to become my friends now. All of you. Every day I make 20, 25 friends. And that's so cool, because I stopped thinking that people are going to abandon me. Right? So forget your failures. Okay? Let the success mechanism do the work for you. Okay? So what Maxwell says is that if you have a problem, if you have a challenge in your life, okay, identify the problem, understand it, gather as much information about it, whatever you can gather about it, because the more information and knowledge you have, the more powerful you feel. Okay, you feel nobody is going to nobody can then cheat you, because you know everything about the problem. Secondly, once you know everything about a problem, it does not scare you anymore. Like I used to have the fear of migraine. Okay, every day I used to get up with migraine, and every night I used to think, kal migraine ho gaya to kya, kal migraine ho gaya to kya, how will I do that meeting, how will I do that. Till one day I said, I'm not going to be fearful of this migraine hua to I will have a tablet, khatam. I am not going to let this monster. Okay, so now the moment the fear went away, and I read everything about it on migraine. I am a walking, talking encyclopedia on migraine. I can tell you why it happens, what to do, when to do, all that. The moment I had so much information about it now, it stopped scaring me. I feel more in control now. I feel I know how to tackle this beast. Okay? Or you give it a shape. Like I always say, when you don't know fear, why do ghost movies work? Why do horror movies work? Because you can't see the ghost. If you were to show me the ghost you put a face to it, or you say that the ghost is like your kitten, it will no more scare me. So give it a face. I always, whenever I feel that I'm fearful of something, I imagine it as my pet sitting on the ground and listening to me. And then it's no more fearful. So gather as much knowledge, because then you're no more fearful of it. Okay? And have a burning desire to solve it. Like tell yourself, yes, I need to solve this. And of course, if you have a problem, you will, instead of avoiding it, say, I'm going to solve it. And then forget about it. Let go of it. Let go of it. Stop getting so attached to the problem. How many of you have got the brightest ideas in the bathroom? You did not go to the bathroom to get your idea. You went to have a shower. Yet you get your brightest ideas in the bathroom, because you were solving the problem outside the bathroom. Then you went into the bathroom to relax, and you said, I'm not going to think about the problem anymore. And your subconscious mind, which was thinking about that problem any which ways and was thinking how to get an answer to that, got you the answer. The moment you stopped your conscious mind, the subconscious mind can do its work. That's why they say sometimes if you sleep with a problem in your head, in the morning you get the solution to it automatically. How many times has this happened to anyone? When you have left the problem, sometimes like I say to God, I have left the problem to you, or my mother passed away 3 years back. So any problem I have, I say, Mama, I'm leaving this problem to you, I'm going to sleep. Give me a solution in the morning. And in the morning there is a solution, and it is like somebody has written it out for you. It's not anything else, guys. It's that your subconscious has worked on it and come up with a solution which your conscious mind could not see. It's just that we never dig deep into our subconscious mind. We just never go there. हम ऊपर से ही पानी ढूंढते रहते हैं. हम कुएं के अंदर जाते ही नहीं है. हम जाने ही नहीं देते, because we don't trust our subconscious. Like so many times I'm in a session, and before that 4 hours I'm thinking kaise karu, and during the session when I'm not thinking of that, I've got the solution. While speaking to somebody, I've got the solution, because now I'm no more focused on that. So once you figured out all the angles to a problem, you have set your intention and outcome that I need this problem to be solved. Your subconscious mind को काम करने दो, operator को काम करने दो, उसको hire इसीलिए किया है, उसको salary इसीलिए देते हैं. Leave it to him. He will figure it out for you. But you have to promise me one thing, that you will let the problem go out of your mind and won't get so attached to it. You won't attach your ego to it. The next is be happy, okay? Easier said than done, I know, be happy. Okay, why is Shabia saying be happy as if it's under my control? Of course it is in your control. Now it's not about, going out on the world or on the road and dancing and saying, hey, I'm happy. No, but you can see the happiness on my face. Can you see the happiness on my face right now when I'm speaking? Can you see it? Do you think it's a put on, or do you think it's really I'm feeling this energy? I'm feeling this energy. When I speak to people, I give something they can use. I feel very happy. This is happiness, living in the moment. I'm not thinking of anything else. My maid not coming, the bartan lying in the thing. I have so many scripts to finish after this. No, I'm in this moment. I want to give you the maximum in this 40, 50, 60 minutes I've got. And that's happiness. Being in the moment, enjoying it for what it is. Having my cup of chai and feeling as if it's the greatest drink in the world. And this is possible. The whole 24 hours may not be happy. I may have 1 or 2 hours when I may feel a little low. But if I'm concentrating on being happy, eventually my subconscious will say, okay, being unhappy is not there in this woman's dictionary. We should be. So let's work on being happy. So I didn't know this about myself. Okay, I used to work for Star Plus. And one day a girl came and she said, you know, before you came to office today, I told everyone in office that, has anyone ever seen Shabya unhappy? And they all said no. And I was like, really? And I realized that for them, I was the happiest person on this earth. Even though my father had left me and my business was not doing so well and I had hajar things and I was not having a baby and things like that, they all saw me as this poster girl of happiness. And I realized, oh my God, how many times have your friends come and said, hey, rock star, you are a rock star, you know, anything you touch turns to gold. And you have this niggling voice inside your head saying, what is he saying? I am not at all like this. But your friends are able to see what you are, which you deny yourself and you negate it and you say, नहीं मैं तो ये नहीं हूँ, अरे हूँ, मैं हूँ. That's why they can see it. You guys don't even know me, but almost at least 4 or 5 of you have written your energy is contagious. And this is through a screen, guys. Imagine what will happen if you meet me personally, right? This is through a laptop screen. It shows through. Okay, happiness is very easy to cultivate. It's just that we love being these devdasis in our life. You know, reveling in that, putting sad songs and thinking, oh, we are so unhappy. Yeah. So be happy and don't connect your happiness to a goal. No more saying, I'll pay off all my EMIs and then I'll happy. If I get Aishwarya Rai as my girlfriend, then I'll be happy. If my husband says you're beautiful today, I'm happy. No, I'll look into the mirror and say to myself, I am very beautiful and I'm very happy. And I'm going to go. So believe me, guys, before this session, I had no idea what I'm going to speak about. But 5 minutes before it, when I was having my bath, when Shilpa called to say that we're waiting for you, I just looked at the outcome. I said, after the session, everybody is going to say, what a wonderful session. That's all I did. That's all the preparation I did. And I put together this PPT 15 minutes before I was to come here. And I think I'm doing okay. Because first of all, I am not attaching myself to any negative goal. I am not thinking only that any of you is judging me. No, you're not judging me. What if I have to fumble? Or what if my laptop were to go off? Would you judge me? Would you pass a death sentence on me that Shabya ko latka do phasi par? No. Right? I've just told myself it'll be an awesome session. Because it always is. I'm just going to be myself and I'm going to speak whatever comes to my mind and whatever I've got through the book and whatever I can remember at that time. And it's going great till now. It will go great till the end. How many of you all agree? You have the power to make anything you want and make the outcome turn out to anything you want. So just as your brain is wired for different things, okay, there is a success mechanism and there is a failure mechanism, right? And if you are conscious about what are the components of the success mechanism and the failure mechanism, you can always then keep it under your control. The moment it is going in the failure mechanism, usko pakad ke wapas le aao. Think about it. Think about your brain as a little child. Your child keeps going near the window, you pull him back. Your child is going to knock into something hot, you pull him back. So once you're aware of these things, you can start working on that, right? So what are the things which really constitute the success mechanism? Comprehension, that is knowing everything about the problem. Courage, the courage to face the problem head on. You know what successful CEOs, one mantra they all have is dive into the problem, take the decision quickly, fail quickly, come out of it, move on to the next one. They don't procrastinate, they don't think 10 times. You really think Mukesh Ambani was dwelling on one problem for 21 months and then taking the decision? He has thousands of decisions to take every day. So he has to take every decision fast. So comprehension, courage to dive in, courage to face the problem and knowing that you will come out a winner. Charity, okay. Now by charity, I don't mean go and give money. What I mean is always remembering how it is going to benefit others. Very, very important component, right? Giving back. This session is not about me. It's about giving you maximum what I can in this little time, right? The moment you do charity, you have courage, your self-esteem builds up. You no more are the victim. Guys, you are the writer of your story. Why would you want to be the victim? Be the hero. Write your role as the hero. All of us have a pen in our hand to write our own life story. And I choose to be the hero of my story. I will not become the second lead or the friend of the hero, right? Self-confidence, the moment your esteem goes up, you feel more confident. The more you feel confident, the more success movies in your head. And then you're self-assured that the outcome will be exactly as you planned it. So there's this very, very, interesting example in the book that there was this huge, a big political leader who he cannot name because of some reasons. And he had to, for example, चलो इसको नाम दे देते हैं, that probably somebody like me has to meet a Narendra Modi. Now, I have never met the man and I don't know, and I'm not a BJP follower and there's no political affiliation, but I am dead scared in my head that I have to go and meet him. So this man also was dreading the fact that he has to meet this huge political leader. So what he started doing, and he had 3 months to the meeting, okay? The meeting was scheduled 3 months away because that guy was a huge, big prime minister of a country or something like that. And this guy started replaying the meeting every day in his head. Right from when I go to his cabin, he will say, "Good morning, Miss Shabia, please sit here." And then he'll say, "Coffee or tea?" And I will say, "Tea." And he will say, "Do you smoke?" And I'll say, "No." And he says, "Oh, what brings you today this morning?" So he built this entire script in his head. Okay. He also made a visual image of this man inside his head. Like, this is how he will look. This is how he will talk. He will probably scratch his nose 10 times, everything. And he started playing this visual. He started playing this entire meeting in his head. After a month of doing this, he got so confident that he started writing it. And he wrote everything what he wanted the meeting to go as per what he wanted. And you know, guys, when he went for the meeting, and this is documented in the book, if you read the book, the meeting played out exactly the way he wanted to. And not only from his side, the other prime minister also said the same things which he had written in his. Without meeting the man, he had actually crafted the entire scene. It was a movie. The guy actually asked him, "Tea or coffee?" He said, "Sit on my right hand side." He actually asked him, "Do you smoke?" He actually said, "Where do you live?" Whatever he had planned in his head, replayed, written, is exactly how the meeting panned out. And he came back to Maxwell, the writer of this book, and said, "You know what? This is what happened with me. And this is exactly what you are saying in your book." Can you believe this? It's so surreal. You know, and Maxwell also says that most golf players, when they start playing golf, their coaches give them this book. And there's this legendary golf player. I'm very bad at names, so that's why I'm not throwing names. But if you read the book, this golf player, he never practiced. He never practiced. He practiced very little. People never saw him in the golf field. He only used to play the shots in his head. He used to sit in an armchair. He had an armchair relaxation every day, and he used to play the shots in his head. He used to think that, okay, the ball will come from here. I'll hit it with the tee like this. It will go here. There is the hole there, and he used to master the shots in his head. And only in the what you call it, a tournament, I don't know, a golf tournament, when he used to play, he used to be the winner every now and then, because every time he used to be the winner, and the shots would play out exactly like that. And then when a journalist asked him, "Sir, हमने आपको practice करते हुए कभी नहीं देखा." He said, "I practice in my mind." Can you imagine a sports person practicing in his mind? And then they did a scientific research where one team practiced every day on the field, and one team only practiced in their head. They never went on the field. Only in the first and the last day they went on the field. And the team which practiced in their head won. Brilliant, no? Magical. When I heard this, I was like, wow. It's all in your head. If sports can be done in your head, anything can be done in your head. Right? So this is amazing. Okay, so success mechanism, all these are the failure mechanism. Every time you feel you're going aggressive, every time you think you're feeling frustrated, every time you feel you're getting insecure, you feel lonely, you feel uncertainty, you feel resentment, bring yourself back. You know this is the mechanism to failure. When you become aggressive, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Then you get frustrated. The moment you feel frustrated, you start feeling insecure. Oh, this meeting is not going to turn out the way I want. The moment you start feeling insecure, you start feeling lonely. You feel, okay, nobody cares about me. I am very lonely. Nobody understands me. Okay. And it is all in your head. You can be as lonely or as popular or as, satisfied with your life as you want. And the moment you start feeling loneliness and uncertainty, you start resenting others. You start saying, oh, that person has so much wealth. I don't. But think about what all you have, and you can achieve that. So rather than resenting what the other person has, which he or she has built because of his capabilities and his positive play. Have you seen successful people? Have you seen CEOs? I have seen a CEO very, very closely, and he's my mentor and my ex-boss. And I always see him, and he's never shy of narrating his successes to me. Never. Neither guilty, and he's not arrogant. But he's always narrating success stories to me. He's never narrating his failures to me. And I'm not saying be ashamed of your failures or don't talk to them. Like I told you about my father leaving me. But I'm saying don't dwell in it. Don't dwell in it. If you have to celebrate something, celebrate your success. Don't celebrate your failure. Mind is the most powerful tool you have, and I don't need to say this now that I have said so much, right? It is the most powerful tool you have. And again, a very interesting study about a salesman, that a salesman used to always do $5,000 of sale every month, always. So the company thought that, oh, if he is doing this in such a small area, we should put him in a big area, and then he will be able to achieve much more. So instead of Mumbai, they made him in charge of India. And he still made only $5,000. So they said, "Hey, ye kaise hua?" So they said, okay, maybe his expertise lies in smaller places. So let's put him in charge of Bandra. So he'll make more than he was making for Mumbai because his attention is scattered. He still made $5,000. They did everything. And he only made $5,000. Finally, getting fed up of him, they called him. So initially they were very proud of him because he was making $5,000 out of Mumbai. But when they realized he's only making $5,000 wherever you put him, they called him and they tried to understand. And they put a psychologist there. And they realized that this guy had put a target in his head of $5,000. That मुझे सिर्फ $5,000 ही कमाने हैं. अगर मेरा $5,000 का टारगेट पहले 2 दिन में हो गया, I'm not going to work more. And if I don't achieve $5,000 on the 29th day, I will put all my energy on the 30th day to make it $5,000. So, the company had not given him a target. He had given this target to his own self, and now his subconscious mind was only working to make those $5,000 every month. So he was then, given this whole task of changing his self-image, his targets, his beliefs. And after that, he became the highest paid salesman in the company because now he broke that barrier that I have to only make 5,000. And then he started making tons of money for the company every month. So you realize it's just in your head. He had set this limiting belief in his head that he is only a $5,000 salesman. So I can give you many, many examples like this, and there are plenty of such in this book. But all I want to say is all this is pointing to only one thing, that there is nothing like the mind. This is the most powerful tool you need, and you already have it. And your brain will always work with the outcome you set for it. Okay? No man has success which is more than the image he has of himself. Your success cannot rise above the self-image you have of yourself. If your inner self sees you as a billionaire, nothing can stop the external world from making you a billionaire. And all that you need to do is tell that operator sitting inside your head, the self, the subconscious mind, to do that. And that will only happen when you play the movie in your head every day of who you are and who you want to become. The two should be in sync. The who you are, the belief you are about who you are, and the belief you want to become should be the same, guys. If you want to become a billionaire, but in your head you are a beggar and you're wearing torn clothes every day, it never syncs. That's why when people when you see people who are trying to be something what they are not, you immediately can see through them. You can see the lie they are living. You always say, oh, they are hypocrites, right? Because the inner self and what they are portraying doesn't match. But if you see a person who believes what they are and they are speaking the same thing, then you know that that's what you call a genuine person, right? So that's all, guys. I have this to say. I have lots to say, but I think this is the crux of the book. So do get your hands on it and read it, and I love it. I'm going to stop the share, okay? Yeah.
Shabia, I don't think that anybody would want to stop listening to you at this moment.
Thank you, Kapil. Thank you so much.
So, members, those who are attending, if you have any questions and you want to share something, you can unmute yourself one by one, and you can please ask a question and share your feedback. Yeah, Pallavi ji is saying wish it could go on and on.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, meanwhile, Shabi, I'll just ask you a question from my end that we always talk about that have positive thoughts. But what is the origin of this particular thought? Where do we acquire or where do we gain this thought from at very first place? Is there any scientific reason to it?
Uh, I think the positive thought is, again, it originates from what you feel about yourself, right? The way you see yourself. I mean, I have seen people who, and I gave that example, right? That, like, there is this person again who, who calls me and says, so when Corona happened, and this is very interesting again, when Corona happened, she called me and she said, uh, मेरे गुरुजी ने कहा है कि मेरे अगले 6 महीने बहुत बुरे हैं. Okay. And I was like, why don't you stop speaking to your Guruji? Because you know what? The moment the Guruji used to say that अगले 6 महीने बहुत बुरे हैं, she had already, her subconscious mind had already tuned herself to live the 6 months in bad times. And now every day it would play off as a bad time. So I said, what if you try not to listen to anyone, and instead of say, now Shabia the Guruji is telling you, तुम्हारे अगले 6 महीने बहुत अच्छे हैं. So the moment I told her that, she said, no, but Guruji cannot be wrong, na, because she sees him as an expert, right? So I said, तो एक दिन ये तो सोच कि तेरे next 6 दिन बहुत अच्छे हैं. Just think about it. So the moment she heard that, and she said, okay, I will try. It's very difficult, but I will try. And she tried it, and the next day she said, actually मेरा कल का दिन बहुत अच्छा गया. पर ऐसा हमेशा होता नहीं है, because गुरुजी जब बोलते हैं बुरा टाइम है तो बुरा टाइम ही होता है. So I thought that we are willing to listen to others, but we are not willing to listen to ourselves, to what, see, and they always say, right, that God made all of us. Why would he make one inferior? Why would he make a bad product? Why would he do superior? I mean, as an entrepreneur, all of us are entrepreneurs here. Do we make one product, one soap bad and one soap good? All our products, we want them to be superior. So God also, when he started this assembly line, he didn't even give us the same faces. He didn't even start an assembly line. He said each of my creation has to be so perfect, so superior. But yet we believe in that God, but we don't believe in his creation. We always are finding faults with ourselves, with our loved ones. And I think even I am guilty of that. The toughest critical tests we put are our loved ones, right? I'm willing to forgive all of you, but I'll not forgive my husband. I'm willing to be nice to you, but I'll not be nice to my people. The toughest tests our closed ones have to give, always. So I think it originates from within, and the perception of, and yes, again, it is scientific, right? It is scientific. It is not a theory. I mean, if you see so I've read The Secret and everything earlier, and I read this book the last, but now I realize that this has been the bark of all books. It came in 1960, and these golf players who gave these examples, they were all playing in that times and had results. And now it has become the book of all the sports person across the world. So the moment anyone goes to play a sport, the coaches, the celebrated coaches give away this book, because they have also realized that golf and other games don't happen in the field. It happens in the brain. Like, even if someone has seen Dhoni the film, right? If the recent film where Sushant was acting, and I again saw it the second time after Sushant died. And in that, there is one very small scene, you won't even remember it, was when Dhoni met Yuvraj for the first time. And you remember that scene where Yuvraj is going in the night with his headphones on and his classy suitcase and walking like a dude. And Dhoni came from very humble backgrounds. So all the cricketers turned to see, wow, what a dude. And the next day they lose the match. And after that, Dhoni says, we didn't lose the match today on the field. We lost it yesterday night when we all turned to look at him as if he was God and we were inferior. We lost the match then. We didn't, because that inferiority complex had already come in. So when I saw it recently, I thought it made so much sense that you lose battles, you lose meetings, you lose confrontations in your head. You never lose them across the. If I go to a funding meeting thinking I'm not going to get funding, I never will. I think funding सबको समझ में आता है, entrepreneurs को सारे लोग ऐसे कर रहे हैं.
So
it's all about numbers, that's why.
Shabia, what I could summarize from this answer is that there are external sources that are providing us the information. It's all up to us that if we allow that information to penetrate in our mind and process.
Yes. Absolutely, absolutely. And I think also give it that outcome which we want to happen.
Yes, even if we are getting the information, it's all up to us that how we process and how do we define the outcome of it.
It's like a ganne ka machine. What you put ganna, that's why you get ganne ka ras. But if you were to put beetroot inside of that, you would get beetroot ka ras. So you have to feed information, and it will. And today in these times, it's also a little difficult to do this because there is so much of information overload. You have mentors telling you one thing, coaches telling you something, internet telling you something, then speakers like me telling you something. Which one? And that's why I say that I also have many people I listen to, but then you just follow one person always. It's always better. Take from everyone, but then just follow that one mentor, one coach who is in sync with the person you are. I can't be someone and then I go finding a role model who is completely different from, like, if I am a very genuine person, I can't have a hypocrite mentor. It will never match. You will never get the. I think Shilpa and I connect because we're both very similar in personalities, I would say. I mean, for whatever months I've known her, very outgoing, very gregarious, very haha, we were like this kind of thing, and that's why we match. But if I were to put, if you put me together with an introvert who hardly speaks, I may not be the best version of myself. So there also you need this, I think, synergy. And again, how that synergy comes? First by knowing myself. Who am I? Then only I'll start finding my clones. Otherwise, I won't.
Absolutely. So, Shabia, here we have the very first question. It is by Mr. Hemant Pawar. He says it was very powerful talk, and I have curiosity. Have you read J. Krishnamurti, Osho, and what's the difference between spirituality and mind science?
Oh, that's a tough one. I haven't read J. Krishnamurti. I have read a bit of Osho, but see, actually, if you ask me, I don't. So I have a very spiritual person in my house. My husband is very much into spirituality. I am not at all into spirituality. My spirituality is very external. Now I'll define that to you. That is there something called internal spirituality now. So internal is more like when you meditate and when you go inside yourself and you sort of believe that everything what you need is inside you, which really is what Maxwell also says, that everything you need is inside you. And so my husband is also an introvert. He's a very private person. So he meditates for 3-4 hours every day. But that's his personality, and that gives him a lot of happiness. Okay. And he's able to be very contented, and he's in Bollywood, and Bollywood is a very rough industry to be in, because one day you will have work, then 3 years you won't have work, suddenly you will have lots of money, then you won't. But he's managed to keep himself calm and contented through all this, and he's never ruffled that Karan Johar didn't call me and this one didn't call me. He's very he's so non-filmy that you won't even judge that he's from the industry. Whereas people will identify me as a media person because of my personality and the way I speak, and a little bit of filmy dialogues here and there, and that's who I am. But then my spirituality is different. My spirituality is all about helping others. So you will always see me taking up very big charitable causes, raising 20 lakhs for someone, or even running an entrepreneurship group where 200 people are learning from me and conduct. So my giving is very external in that sense, and that brings me a lot of happiness, and that has kept me grounded and calm and whatever. Now people who see both of us, they automatically say that he is the spiritual one. But only the ones who know me truly and the kind of work I do also call me spiritual. And these are again perceptions, right? So I always tell my husband that if we were to have a divorce, automatically people would say that it must have been because of Shabia. And I haven't done anything negative in my life. I haven't stolen, I haven't cheated, I haven't done anything. But it's just because I think people think that I want so much more out of life, and he is very contented with what he has. And none of it is wrong. Both the perceptions are correct. It is not wrong to be ambitious. I mean, the time he was getting into spirituality and sort of renouncing the world, I was actually saying I want to become the richest woman in the country. But if you go, even in spirituality doesn't tell you that leave the world. It tells you fulfill your duties in the world while being contented and rooted at heart. And for me, that happiness comes by doing things externally. I have still not started meditating and things like that. But but for him, it's all about his own peace. And again, I say both are correct, both are right, both are sciences, both are a part of science. So I feel spirituality, science, what I am telling is to you the science behind positive thinking, the science behind visualization. And what he is doing is, again, when you meditate, what do you do really? You empty your mind of all thoughts so that it becomes a leveling ground for new thoughts and new things to emerge for innovation, right? And I feel there is really no difference between spirituality and science. He is practicing spirituality, I am practicing spirituality, but in a different way, and to each his own. And really you have to find your, like for me visualization comes very easy. So this book actually I think connected with me because it was all about visualization, because that's what I do for a living also. I'm constantly creating stories, I'm constantly seeing scenes, how my hero will act, how my heroine will act. So it's very easy for me to see what if I am the heroine in that, and what if I were to plan the end of this movie, then it would be like this. But really visualization is not, I don't think that anyone is born without it. It's all a matter of cultivation. And 21 days is all you need even to cultivate this habit. If you start today, you will start seeing results from the, and I, let me tell you this, okay? So 2 weeks before I read this book, I was in a very, very bad state. As in, I was very, because of the COVID-19 and my business getting hit and everything, I was really, really struggling, and media projects on hold. And you all know that we won't be shooting for a long time, because on shoots there are 200, 300 people. So I was also very, very, and I was like, oh God, what is going to happen? How am I going to pay my bank loan? How am I going to do things like this and other things? And I realized, and when I heard this book and when I read this book, I realized that it's all in my control. I need to start working on the outcomes I want out of it. Maybe this 3 months of holiday, or whatever we call the lockdown, has actually helped so many of us correct our back end. All of us who are entrepreneurs are constantly racing every day to finish the orders, to attend to customers. We are not strengthening our back ends. This 3 months gave us that time. So I went back and I started doing what was there in the book. You won't believe, in the lockdown, I launched a new venture, which was Idea to Income. We signed a new movie with a channel in the lockdown who said, we are fast tracking your movie. Let's shoot it as soon as the lockdown ends. So we are going to shoot it next month. It goes on flow. Okay. Somebody from London called me and said, I want to export your products. All this, not even when I finished the book, I had started with the book, and just like 2-3 days of just sitting and thinking, okay, what if I get a call from somewhere and saying that I want to export your products? And it happened exactly the way I had thought the conversation would go. I imagined this head of a channel calling me and saying, please make a movie for us. Exactly same lines, guys. They called and said, we are fast tracking the project you had submitted. We want your movie to go on platform first. And I was like, how is this happening? It can't happen so soon. But it was happening within like 3 days of starting the book. So don't even wait to finish the book. Just start today. I mean, there's an audio version of it also, even if you want to, and it's online and it's free. So just start. But yeah, see, I always say, it's not about my speaking. It's about your doing. You have to do it to make these changes, and believe it, and don't question it too much. As I always say, people start questioning, ये चलेगा क्या होगा ये करने से, पिक्चर अपने दिमाग में पिक्चर बना के क्या होगा. But if you do it and then see whether it works for you, right? Even if it doesn't work for you, you still would have become a better visualizer, I think. So there is nothing lost. It's all free.
Awesome. I think this is very much doable, Shabi, and we all can definitely do this. What you rightly said is कि question मत करो. जहाँ पे faith और belief खत्म हो जाता है ना, फिर वहाँ पे कुछ नहीं हो सकता.
और हम रहते हैं जहाँ हम पत्थर को भगवान मानते हैं. It shouldn't be too difficult for us.
Exactly. So there's a question from Lalit. Lalit, this is regarding licenses. So we can take it post workshop. Let's have, on call, we can take this question. Then we have one more question from again from Lalit, I guess. Yeah. So Lalit had a little debate with his friend about inner peace. He says, we were somewhere not sure to conclude. So can you tell me the difference between satisfaction and inner peace?
I think there is no difference between satisfaction and inner peace. The moment you are satisfied, you are at peace with yourself. And satisfaction only comes again from being the person you really are, rather than being a clone of someone else which you are not, right? The moment, See, one thing, you know what is the most difficult thing in this world? Is to live with, is to be being able to live with yourself. Can you live with yourself? And this is one big thing I realized in these 3 months of lockdown, because I always used to categorize myself as an extrovert, people loving person. I always used to say, I love people. I want people all the time with me. I need to meet 5 new people every day. But a big thing happened in this lockdown is I realized I'm so comfortable living with myself. I'm so happy living with myself. I can be my roommate. Can you be your roommate? Think about this in very simple line. Ask yourself this. Can you be your roommate? Would you love to have yourself as your roommate? If the answer is no, that means you're still on the road to it. You have not reached there. But if you can live with yourself without needing any external validation, or there is no conflict. Like if you think that I want to be here, and in the inner person you are there, that same person, then there is no problem. And I think the moment you are satisfied or you're contented with who you are, peace automatically comes in. Peace will come automatically when you're satisfied. The peace is disturbed only when there is a conflict between your outer self. And so I always say this, today I'm a speaker. If I come with one image here, that yahan pe to I'll be very sophisticated, I'll roll my R's and I'll talk in an accent. When I'm a mother, I'll be a different person. When I receive an award, I'll be a different person. When I'm selling sabun at an exhibition, I'll be a different person. I will not say sabun in my seminars, I'll say soaps. So much conflict, no? And how will I remember kahan ke liye kaun sa role fit kiya tha? But if I am this person who says sabun, I call myself a sabun and tel wali everywhere, irrespective. Nobody can now call me out for being a liar. There is no conflict anywhere. I am a sabun and tel wali. I'm the same person whose father left her. I'm the same person of contradiction of so many things. I love talking, but I can live in silence too. I love having myself as my roommate. There is no conflict. I'm not putting masks and layers. There's no another Shabia version which I've kept in the closet. My life is an open book. There's nothing to hide. So then there is no conflict. And when there's no conflict, then you can be free of judgment. Ki nobody can deserve any judgment for me. Nobody is judging me. I don't have that fear. And hence I'm peaceful. And peaceful doesn't mean silent. Huh? I am not silent at all. I'm always talking, creating noise everywhere I go. But in my heart, I think there is peace, and that's why it reflects on the screen. And you guys have been able to see it, that you have seen this energy as positive energy, and not again, there's a difference, right? None of you thought that, oh, she was showing off when I was telling you my stories. Did anyone think I was boasting either about my successes or my failures? No, you were taking it as a conversation. You were taking it for what it is, as an example, right? That only comes when you are genuine and when you are at peace with yourself, talking about those things.
Absolutely. Amazing, amazing. So, enthralling session, Shabia. This has been, I always love to attend your sessions, and I'm really, really glad that you accepted the invitation to be here on Granth Express platform. I would like to request all our participants and members who have attended this session to kindly give us reviews, to kindly go on our Insta page and give your reviews there, to follow us on Insta. We are also on Facebook. And if you have any more questions, or if you want to actually talk or converse with the Shabia, if you're okay, we can provide your number and email ID as well.
Already my email ID there because everyone was asking for it.
Awesome, awesome. And Shabia keeps on conducting various workshops for entrepreneurs. And if you all can also join our Idea to Income tribe, believe me, guys, it's fabulous, because in that particular group, you get to learn so many things, be it about social media, be it about the do's and don'ts of becoming an entrepreneur, be it about how to beat these difficult times of COVID. So you'll learn a lot. So don't forget to join in there. Shabia, if you can just put in the link for Idea to Income as well, so people would want to go to the Facebook profile, the Facebook group, and join there as well.
Sure.
So yes, so a fantastic Sunday morning and a lot of energy. I can already feel it. Be it across the screen, it's still there. Yes, Lalit is showing thumbs up, so he has enjoyed. Hemanji is there, and everybody. So I think yes, Shabia has put in the email ID as well.
Yeah.
So I would like to request Ali ji to kindly give the concluding remarks on this amazing session.
Thank you, Shilpa. Thank you, Shabia, for this such a wonderful session this morning. And Thank you all the participants. It's been such a lively session that we hardly can believe it that we are at the fag end of the session, and it's almost like we are 30 minutes over time. But
Sorry.
I'm traveling right now. Yeah, I'm traveling right now. See the energy that you bring to this table. This.
I think since he's
Amazing.
traveling, we are losing your voice, Ali ji.
Okay, so I'll just